you powerful.
So I'd like to get some clarity on the subject of when you see like triple numbers together, say on a license plate. I know that you have talked in the past about that's a demonstration of alignment, because it's not as likely to see 3 9s together as it is to see a 6, 4, and 3 together.
The number didn't go 4, 8, 9 and then all of a sudden become 3 numbers because you were there. It's that because of your alignment and because of what those numbers represent to you, and because you care about alignment and you want evidence of your alignment, when you are in a place where you're not doing that thing that causes you to resist that alignment, then all kinds of those things happen in your experience because you are a cooperative component to your own pleasant desire.
And what I would like to know is that, let's just use the last 12 months. I've found myself in a place, a lot of step 1, a lot of contrast. And yet, in the midst of all of that, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day, seeing triple numbers, whether it's on a license plate or the side of a vehicle, how is it that I'm able to connect with evidence of alignment when I'm not feeling aligned?
We're just going to find the basis of this. First, the easy to understand response to this is most people are at their most aligned while they are driving, because you're focusing upon a repetitive thing and you're often not pondering all kinds of other things that have you all wadded up. So it's like the likelihood of feeling your wisdom in an environment like this is much greater than when you're having an argument with somebody that you care about. So the environment is somewhat conducive to how much alignment you have, but that almost opposes what we really have been saying to you all morning, because we really don't want you running around looking for conditions that will produce your alignment. We want you to get out ahead of it and accomplish your alignment so that you rendezvous with those conditions.
And I do feel like I rendezvous with them, but I'm surprised when I do, because I don't feel aligned.
In any moment in time, you stand as a vibration that's happening because of your thoughts in relationship with a vibration, your inner being, that's happening because of your inner being's thoughts. And you might find it interesting that both thinkers, you and you, which is only one, but both aspects of this thinker, are thinking about the same subject, just with differing point of views. You're mad at yourself, your inner being isn't. You're wondering why something hasn't manifested, your inner being is enjoying the unfolding of it. So in any moment in time, there is this balance or relationship. That's why we want you to get the sense of this calibrating dance that you're always doing, because as you hear us when we say that your inner being is with you and cares about what you want, and all the struggle that you felt in the last year has caused a new wave about new subjects. It's just that you're still more calibrated to the situations, and your inner being is immediately calibrated to the new request. So the more you are writhing in your discomfort, the more you are sending an equivalent positive wave, and the better your inner being feels about it. You see, your inner being is the opposite of what you want your friends to be and what you want your mother to be. Your inner being will not support you in your dysfunction. So when things are going wrong, they get better, which for you feels terrible, because you just caused the crevasse between where you're dominantly thinking and what your inner being is dominantly thinking about the same subject to be wider and therefore more uncomfortable. But because you have a balance of thoughts, you're not always like that, just when you're focused upon the things that matter the most. The thing about humans, and we're going to say this in you humans because we want it to sound accusatory, because it's exactly the way we mean it, we're just playing with you. But you humans, you humans, the human part of you humans, you do think about the things you want way more than things that are more general. You are a fixer, you are a doer, you are an accomplisher, you are a making it happener. And we're going to offer you some really strong, easy to hear, maybe harsh sounding words. If you're not calibrating, you're manipulating. Because what you do in your physical world is you manipulate through conversation, you try to persuade others, you try to get over on something, even on yourself. Because when you're dealing with manifestations, which is movement, action, that sort of stuff, that's manipulating. Calibrating is the fine tuning, you see. And because you've done so much of that fine tuning, because that's who the larger part of you is, and it's a part of who you often are. You just can't admit it in a moment when you're calibrated away from it. So those evidences are just showing you that you're not always out of whack. And it's something that at one time you believed was evidence of alignment, that you wanted to know was alignment. And so you got to understand, your inner being is looking for each and every opportunity to give you a sense of being on the right path. And it's interesting how, as important and really amazing as those rendezvous are, they happen often, and now you're not even letting them mean that much. Now you're just saying, oh yeah, I must be aligned to some degree, but for the last 12 months, blah, 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 blah. So, want to take some subject and let's calibrate it? We want you to know, and this might cause you to pick something different. That's fine, but might cause you to pick something different, is that it is not the big things that matter the most to you that you are using for most of the calibration. Those big things influence, but it's a bunch of stuff, just stuff that doesn't matter very much, that most people are calibrating to all day, every day.
Okay. So a process that I became aware of within the last short amount of time is called Hapono Pono. I believe that's what it's called. And it's from Hawaii. And it's a 4-step process where when something isn't going right, you look at it and say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you.
And drop dead.
That too.
Because there's no calibration that happens in that with words. That's manipulation. That's what we're talking about. That's saying words. So far step 1 hasn't done much, but step 1 never really does do very much except you identify. So what's step 2?
Those are the 4 steps. The I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And the part that I've in my own mind tried to figure out is, how is this working? Because people talk about some amazing results they get from that, and that it's less resistant than being angry, but still the language of I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Well, we don't ever want to be critical of what anybody's doing for any reason, because people are inspired to things that work for them. We are just, you might say, vibrationally accurate nitpickers, because we calibrate finely. And anytime there's a situation and then you're just saying words, that falls into the category of manipulation. Those words don't cut it after a while. Esther remembers when she got her first answering machine long before cell phones, and she kept leaving the house without turning it on. So she put a note on the door that said, turn the answering machine on. And after a while, the note just looked like the door. She didn't notice the note either. The note kept getting bigger and brighter and bigger and brighter, because it's easy to become complacent. So, if you don't mind, let's play with this just for a little bit. Can you give us a verbal demonstration of some situation to which you are wanting to maybe apply those 4 words?
Sure. So at work, I'm upset with my boss because he's micromanaging.
It just happened, because that's a kind of general statement. What did he just do?
He told me to do something that I knew I was supposed to do, and I was going to do it anyway, and yet he had to stick his big nose in.
And so it made me feel...
inadequate.
It made me feel like he thinks I'm inadequate. But it made me feel inadequate.
Inadequate.
Did you really feel inadequate?
Yeah, at some level.
All right, so you felt inadequate.
Angry. Picked on isn't quite the right word, but like...
Misunderstood.
And that feeling of what I call feeling of being micromanaged, of being told what to do.
So let's talk about what that is. It felt like bondage. Felt like being bossed around. It felt like being unimportant. A sort of small cog in the wheel. Criticized that even though it's such a small cog, I failed at it. That's heavy and uncomfortable. We get that. So that's the situation that you have been noticing, and it's not new, and calibrating too. So you've been calibrating to that since it's attraction, attraction, attraction. Now, we're not saying that he's not attracting too. He's attracting, he's finding your mistakes, even though they're proportionately very few. But because he's calibrating to them, then he gets right on it. And you're sensitive to him doing that, so you get right on it. So there you are in each other's experience. But never mind him. Just acknowledge yourself is attraction. This is what I'm calibrating to. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having this experience on a regular basis. I'm calibrated to that. Now, open your book. You've written those words. And on the other side, now your mindset is. That's that situation. That is an isolated situation to which I calibrated in those ways. And it felt bad when I did it. But now I'm asking myself another question. I'm asking myself, who am I really? Who do I dominantly know myself to be? Am I ineffective or effective? You don't even have to think about that for a moment. I'm an effective person. Am I bad at my job or good at my job?
Great at my job.
Do I care about doing a good job, or am I careless about it?
Of course I care.
I care about this. Am I a deliberate creator or a creator by default?
I know that I'm a deliberate creator, but sometimes I create by default.
But see what happened right there? It's all right. This is really good. What happened right there is that you lost track of which side of the book you were on. And for a moment, you calibrated back to that and didn't feel deliberate. You see how that happened? Where if you reread what you've written across the top, but how do I dominantly feel about myself? What do I really know about the world? What do I really understand about how it works? Am I a deliberate creator, or do I create by default? Do I care about creation, or do I not care about creation? Am I good at this, or am I bad at this? I'm good at this. I'm a deliberate creator, and it doesn't take very long knowing what you know before you start seeing 33333 on all the license plates or whatever. It doesn't take very long before you feel it shift within you. Even as you do it, you come into the wholeness of who you are. And that situation, unpleasant as it was the reason that you calibrated to who you really are. And the most significant thing that we want to say to you is that because you did that, that's not where it was. Maybe it didn't shift completely, but it's not where it was. You have calibrated to who you are about that. You've been with us a while, so you've heard us make these statements over the years. We've said to you on many occasions that we are not encouragers of going back and cleaning up messes, because memories are not your friend. Memories are not a friend to deliberate creation. They just activate the old stuff that causes tripping points and holds you back. And anybody that goes into any kind of therapy or any kind, it just gets worse and worse and worse, because they just keep digging this up and digging this up and activating it and then calibrating to it. They don't mean to, but that's what they're doing. And so we've always said, if this is something that you can just let go of, then just let go of it. In other words, we would rather you be in a position where you are so calibrated to your source energy that when something unwanted shows up, you just look in the direction of source energy and you never look back, and that would never happen again. But you know what happens with people that you love, that you care about, that you've been hanging around with for a long time, or jobs you've had for a long time, or situations you've been living for a long time? You have these deep roots. And so it's not the correct message for us to say, just look over there, just look over there, because if there is an potentially active vibration within you, and there are those around you, and there are a lot of those around you who are eager in their insecurity to activate your insecurity. We don't mean eager deliberately, but we mean it's rampant. You got to clean it up. You've got to calibrate into your wholeness, because there will be another experience and another experience and another experience and another experience that will drag you back into that. So it's different places and different faces, but the same old thing just keeps happening over and over again until you calibrate yourself to your strength instead of to your weakness, to your wholeness instead of to that situation. Does that make sense to you?
Perfect.